Hello, folks. Welcome to this edition of Al's Joint. We got a lot to unravel today. As I sit here listening to one of the greatest performers of all time, Marvin Gaye, let's take the gloves off and let's get at it. So, folks, looking at some of the comments we received over the last week, we were asked a question, right? Actually, by multiple folks. Why do you dislike Donald Trump so much? Why does the left hate Donald Trump so much? Let's take it back to the beginning. I want folks to really understand this was a slow burn here, right? This wasn't something that people just jumped up one day and said, hey, we hate this man or we hate his policies. Let's go back to the beginning. 2016, there was a primary held, and there was a good field of Republicans. If you're looking for conservative, intelligent Republicans outside of Donald Trump, there was a good group of folks here. John Kasich, Jeb Bush, Marco Rubio, Ted Cruz. I won't even include Ted Cruz. He never deserved to be president, let alone a senator. Any man who won't defend his father or have somebody call his wife ugly and don't do anything about it, then bend the knee, he's not a man. He shouldn't even been in the race. But the other three, John Kasich, Jeb Bush, Marco Rubio, they were solid candidates. But the Republicans chose instead reality TV star, so-called billionaire, who, if you released his taxes, you would have seen that he was worth less than $100 million. And that's only in property owned. That's not in liquid funds. A man who cheated on each of his wives with the next wife, and his current wife, he cheated on her with a porn star. So he gets nominated for the Republican ticket. He started off by stealing Ronald Reagan's slogan, "Make America Great Again." And you'll see there are multiple interviews with him where he claims that he came up with that slogan. At that time, we knew he was a liar. We didn't know how much of a liar he was. America was going to find out. Right after he became the nominee, the circus really just blew up. I mean, it went from ridiculous to where we are now. He mocked handicapped people. He mocked prisoners of war. He insulted women on a regular basis. Video got out where he said that he would date his daughter if she wasn't his daughter, said how hot his daughter was, which was creepy in itself. We saw the video of him on the Access Hollywood tape where he said he would grab women by the pussy. Let's just stop there and take a breath. He's done so much stuff. We haven't even got to his first term yet, right? That's exactly why I call this the circus. So, okay, he runs his campaign, he defeats Hillary, he gets elected, and he inherits one of the greatest economies this country's had. Obama brought it back from the brink, handed him the keys. All he has to do is coast. But does he decide to do that? No, because what you've done, you unleash the narcissist and you put a unqualified grifter in the highest office in our land. So what did he do with his first term? He continues to be Putin's bitch. That became obvious, and started right away trying to figure out how to enrich his family with countries from the Middle East. Something happened that would have required real leadership and a real man in the White House. The pandemic hit, and he failed to act. He lied. He made outrageous statements like ingesting bleach, and it just showed how unprepared he was to be a leader and be the president of the United States. So after 1 million people died while he was in office and the economy crashed, he was voted out. And you would think that he would take that like a man, but of course he's not a man. He's a man-child, and he started stomping his feet, pouting, and he decided to start an insurrection and try to overthrow the government. He couldn't just accept the fact that he lost, and his family had made billions of dollars from some of the Middle East countries. No, that wasn't good enough for him. However, the insurrection wasn't successful, even though he embarrassed our country throughout the world. He continued the 4 years that he wasn't in office. Things came up. He was convicted of 34 felonies for paying off a porn star. He was going to end up going to jail for trying to overthrow the government. But unfortunately, the election happened before they were able to prosecute him. So he won the 24 election. and the Circus Act took off to another level. So he's been in office, 5 months now? He's gotten a $400 million jet from one of the countries that house terrorists after he constantly attacked Hillary Clinton for taking what would amount to pennies compared to what he's taken from a country. A convicted felon, he's in the office. But he continues to insult people. He's pardoned every criminal that he could. Anybody who could pay him off was pardoned. If you can raise money for his campaign, you were going to get a pardon no matter what you did. You could have admitted guilt. You could have just confessed that, look, I ripped off all these folks. I took money from all these Americans, and he still said that's okay. It's an injustice because those criminals who ripped off everyday Americans were actually put in jail. So when you ask the question, why does the left hate Donald Trump? That actually might be a good question. Maybe we're putting our anger at the wrong person. Maybe we should look at the people that put him in office. There are thousands of Donald Trumps out there, thousands, maybe even tens of thousands, folks who are liars, whoremongers, grifters. They exist. They're out there. They're not supposed to be in the highest office in the land. So who put him there? Those far right-wing nuts. Not enough of them to put Donald Trump in office. He also had to have other folks. I would say there's 32 to 35%. That's his core base. They're always going to be there. If he ran on Adolf Hitler's platform, those folks would still vote for him. Even though he would be honest and tell them what his intentions were, that 35% would still vote for Donald Trump. Or anybody else who was that far right-wing nut, they would get it. That other 10 to 12% that he had to convince, if you're one of those folks, you need to look in the mirror. Because those folks, they didn't care. They'll admit to you that they're going to vote for this person no matter what he does. They don't care. He can violate their own children, and they would justify it and come up with an excuse why it was their children's fault. That's what that 35% will do. There's no reaching them. There's no need to have any discussion with them. They're never going to change. They know exactly who they want in an office, and they know why. So if you ask why we hate Donald Trump, we may not just hate Donald Trump. We may hate Donald Trump and the folks responsible for embarrassing our country. I want to thank folks for taking the time to join me on this episode of Al's Joint. Don't forget to hit the like, share, and subscribe button. Subscriptions are free. Trying to reach 500 subscribers. We're well on our way. Don't forget to join me next Friday as we continue to fight to take our country back from these far right-wing nuts. Let's keep the gloves off and let's stay in the fight.
This segment of Al's Joint is brought to you by Pave the Way Parking.